All right, late season tomato update, and we'll talk a little about cracking. All right, here we Okay, first of all, the tomato plant in this bed. Now, as you can see, they're looking kind of sad and puny and sorry for themselves. Well, guys, let me tell you what, this is perfectly normal. Okay, there's nothing wrong with it. We just got through a period of really, really hot temperatures, and it just now cooled back down in the last day or so. And so it's really normal this time of year. I see posts all the time on Facebook saying, oh my God, my tomatoes, what did I do, and how can I fix it? Well, you can't. By the time they get through August, it's been so stinking hot and humid that they're just ready to die and really kind of wanting to. But there's still hope. Okay, you see these two? They're still nice and green at the top. And by the way, we'll do a quick update on the staking system. You see how that stem is all curled around and then it goes on back up to there? There's clusters of fruit on it. Okay, this has worked out really better than I expected. It is doing good. Now, here again, there's a sad, tired looking thing, but the top's still growing. So we're getting into the cooler weather. It should shoot back up. Now this one, which looked like heck it wasn't doing anything, it popped up a little sucker at the bottom and I just left it. And I'll tell you why. I'm going to take and cut that sucker, or let the main stem go ahead and fizzle. Although all of a sudden now it's showing some pretty growth at the top. Who knows? And the same thing here on this tomatoes. I let it have those suckers when they popped up late because, as you can see, the rest of the tomato is suffering from late August and it's looking sad. No blooms. Does have some tomatoes on it still. But in the late season, I'm just going to let these grow. And so, same here. This one, tomato plant. Now you can't hardly see it. It's kind of behind the thing. But see how sad looking it is? But look here. This little sucker that popped up late is growing, just doing fine and looking nice and pretty and green. So I'll string it up. Well, all right. Now this one tickles me. This plant I just planted late and just let it sprawl because I had a lot of bedroom. If you recall, it almost looked like, in July, that thing just almost looked like a little bedding plant I just set out. Okay? So I just let it to sprawl because I had a lot of extra room in this bed and it wouldn't hurt anything. Has kind of come out here in the yard a little bit, but that's all right. But the funny part is, this tomato had frosted off in the spring. It was a bedding plant waiting to be put out, and it was under my cold frame. And there was only about that much left at the bottom. But that little bit was green and had a couple leaves there, so I kept watering it. Didn't let it die. Well, then all of a sudden, after quite a while, it starts developing a longer stem, starts doing good, so I put it out here. But it is just loaded. It's got tomatoes all in it, and the growth is amazing. Now, what's going on here is the same thing as those late suckers on the other tomatoes. This matured late. So it wasn't all beat up from having to go all through the hot and humid part of the summer. It was looking good. It was happy. So it was real small still. and it has taken advantage of the later season. Off it's gone. So here's a supply of tomatoes, you know. So don't give up sometimes on those ones that's a little too late to plant. If you got room for them, you know, what the heck, they seem to work okay. This will probably grow until frost, although it'll probably get too cool at some point for it to set blooms. You know, we'll just see. As long as it's growing and setting blooms, we'll leave it. We'll just let it go. It's got blooms on it now. So I don't know if you can see, they're right there. That's one spot. There's some more blooms up in, well, I can't see it in the down monitor now, but there's more blooms somewhere up in here. All right, real quick, I do have an eggplant growing. Don't know how it's going to do, but I got him. We'll see. It's getting bigger. And these silly things. Here again, now these got planted late. I don't know how well they'll do. I've never grown it before. And they weren't, for a long time, they just kind of sat there. But it's blooming, you know, and the blooms are kind of pretty. They're kind of purple. And same way with the peppers. They were late season, but I see that it's got a couple peppers on this one. This one I'm not seeing anything on, but I'm seeing blooms forming. So who knows, we might get some late season peppers. Well, okay, that's enough for this. All right, tomato cracking. Now, I don't know everything about tomato cracking, but here's what I believe that I do know. Now, I've got a tomato here that's got a huge crack through it, and I know just why that did that, okay? Here's what happened. That tomato had already had pretty much grown as big as it was going to grow, and so it's developed that skin and it stopped getting bigger, and it was going to start to blush and going to start to turn ripe. Then all of a sudden my weather changed, and instead of being hot and dry, it cooled off, and we've had about a week of rains off and on. So what happens? The tomato takes up a bunch more water, pops the skin. They're not bad. There's nothing wrong with it. I'll cut that out, slice up the rest of the tomato. I'm going to serve it to my wife today. Now, another place, and I got some of these early, tomatoes cracking around the stem, on the skin. I'm not 100% sure. What I think happens in that case is I think that's when that tomato was still small and you had the same situation where all of a sudden it got big. All of a sudden, bunch of water, bunch of rain, it cracks the skin. But then the tomato continues to get bigger and bigger in form, so what happens is the cracks are all around the top. The bottom part of the tomato is good, you know, so I'm not 100% sure, and leave a comment if you know something I don't know. But for my experience, it seems to me that that's all a part of how much water, when, and what that tomato is trying to do at the time. So if it gets to where it's ready to ripen up and the skin's hard and formed and it gets a ton of water, that's what you get. Doesn't make the tomato bad, okay? It just means you might want to cut that out because it doesn't look pretty before you slice it up and put it on your wife's plate. The other thing, like I say, is I think the top cracking is the same thing, but it's happened earlier in the tomato's life where all of a sudden it gets a whole bunch of water and splits the skin, but it's around, then the tomato goes ahead and starts growing and grows bigger. Well, what happens is these will heal, making those little cracks around the top. Doesn't hurt the tomato, okay? There's nothing there that's not edible, but don't serve the cracked part, you know, don't serve the cracks. But then the rest of the tomato grows and develops. That original skin is all up at the top. I think that's what happens. Well, all right. I hope that helped. I hope there's something there that was of value somewhere. I don't know. It is, like I say, getting to be the end of the season. I'm going to start working more on my rabbits for the winter. So you get more chicken updates, rabbit updates, and things like that. And I'll still cover the fall buckets, the things I've got growing in the buckets. So all right, folks, I want you all to have a quality day.